What is a cause of death you certainly don't want to die from? John Jones, who got stuck upside down in a super tight cave passage in Utah, and rescuers couldn't get him out, so they had to just let him die and then sealed the cave up. Yeah, not my ideal bucket kicking. Drown in the mud like soldiers during being skinned. I mean it like being flayed while fully conscious. I remember reading about this guy that fell into a pit of concrete powder and he inhaled some of it. It set in his lungs, causing him to very slowly and painfully suffocate. Wet concrete is also a chemical reaction. He was burned to death, lungs first. Glowworms. The way they kill their prey is one of the most painful ways to die in the animal kingdom. They use the silk stands to attract prey, paralyze them, drill a hole in the side of their head, and fill their insides with stomach acid, then leave them for 2 weeks to digest. Being put in a big metal container naked, then having the container get heated by a fire, it would be way worse than just being caught on fire. Essentially, what happened to 2 maintenance workers who were talked into climbing onto a bread conveyor through the baking oven, long before the oven was cooled. They were in an extremely confined space, on a slow conveyor that was gradually heating, burning them. They had walkie-talkies to communicate with people outside, but it was impossible to get them out. Surviving a high-speed car crash only to come out of surgery, live in massive pain for 2 days, and then your heart gives out from all the excruciating pain. Or surviving a fire but over half your body is covered in third-degree wounds, only to die weeks before being cleared to leave, and having to spend all those years in the burn unit only to never see the outside world again. Respiratory distress. A couple months ago, I was on a train when it stopped and asked all medical personnel to report to my car. I look back and a man is on the floor with his girlfriend, sobbing. Everyone went quiet, so I heard him gasp, "I can't breathe," and I was so scared I would witness this man's panicked last breaths. After about 20 minutes, they were able to get him stable enough to carry him off. Before, I had never really thought of not being able to breathe as a terrifying way to die. But damn. Fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva. Adult patients eventually have to decide on what position they wish to predominantly take for the rest of their lives. Duck that. Killed by someone I know. I don't want to spend the last minutes of my life with the conflicting thought of all the moments I lived with that person vs. what they're doing to me at the moment. Fear, frustration, sadness, betrayal, pain. A girl I went to high school with was stabbed to death by her roommate when she was studying abroad. Sometimes I have nightmares about what she must have gone through in her last moments of life. It's morbid and terrifying. I think more than anything on earth, I'm scared of Alzheimer's. To me, it's just so sad. You live a long, healthy life, with so many beautiful memories, to just have them ripped away from you. You forget then your kids, then everyone else. Then what? You're alone in this world, and you're stuck living with that hell.
You die with nothing, no memories, no loved ones as far as you know, and that is the most heartbreaking thing to me.
I'd rather die than deal with that. The hardest thing I've ever done was tell my great-grandmother I love her, and she doesn't even respond. I don't want to live through that. No way in hell. An erection lasting more than 4 hours. Talk about die hard. Being tortured. I just want a quick and lights out. Call it a day. Not even just a quick peekaboo. Take me out. A flying guillotine's blade straight to the back of the neck. Duck that. Go to sleep comfortably and just never wake up. No idea that I died at all. It's the only way I want to go. Everything else is painful and scary. Getting buried alive. One of the few videos that disturbed me after watching was some dude getting killed because his gate fell on him while he was taking the bins out. Dude was just taking the bins out, then his gate landed on him, sent him falling into the bin, and the way he fell snapped his neck. There's something unsettling about terrible things happening while doing the mundane. Lava. It's a lot worse than movies make it look. Plane crash. It's not how quick or slow death can be. Is talking about the cause of death, not how painful it can be. A plane crash can be terrifying, especially if the plane disintegrates mid-air and you'll be thrown into a 30,000 feet free fall. And I don't want my family and friends to live with that. Any way that dehumanizes me. When I die, I want to look like myself, not decapitated or distorted in some freaky way. Starvation. It lasts a long time, and I can barely go a day being hungry. Acid rain. For that to kill you, it would first have to go through your skin and bones to get to the vital organs. Cheese grater. Like being rubbed against a giant one, or one going up your ass. Death by lathe. It's not so much for me as it is for the poor FCAC who has to untangle me. Brain-eating amoeba. Bleeding from my head because I sneezed while sleeping. I had a friend who woke up to find their pillow drenched in blood. It turned out one of their lungs collapsed, and they didn't wake up until quite a ways into it. Amazingly, they're still alive. Dying alone and slowly from old age, after everyone I know is dead. Weirdly, that's my ideal way to go. I want to die after everyone I love, so I know I'm not leaving anybody behind. Driving off a bridge into deep water. It's never happened to me, but for some reason, the sound of a windshield cracking upon impact with water and the feeling of a seatbelt digging into my neck and hips pop up in my nightmares a lot. I have a hard time crossing bridges and vehicles, thanks to that. Drowning is one of my worst fears. Drowning is a process that can take up to a few minutes before you pass out. Must feel like ages. Eaten by an animal. Chances are you ain't dead yet. That one torture method where they leave a rat on top of your stomach, trapped, and starve the rat so it digs through your stomach. Crucifixion sounds pretty bad too. Or being burned in gasoline. I just got told of a case where a guy put a pantyhose over his head, added some cheddar on top, and sat in front of a heating lamp, suffocated on melting cheese. Way to go. Fatal familial insomnia, a prion disease of the brain that causes progressively worsening insomnia and takes around 18 months to kill you. The lack of sleep leads to mental and physical deterioration. In many cases, if you're a man you become impotent, and if you're a woman you go into early menopause. There is no cure. Sleeping pills worsen the symptoms. All documented cases have followed the classic 4-stage progression. Falling in a crevice was instantly a terrifying fear of mine. As soon as I learned it's a thing, just the thought of surviving the fall and lying there waiting, knowing you're gonna die in a few days. There was a guy who once got trapped in a tuna steamer and got steamed to death. So, yeah, probably that. A deadly disease nobody has ever gotten. The whole experience of being the first to face it, with doctors not having a single clue, seems like a traumatizing way to die to me. ALS. Can you imagine your body slowly shutting down until your lungs stop functioning and you suffocate? Before that happens though, you're pretty much paralyzed for a year or two. Pretty bad way to go if you ask me.